Hi guys, welcome to another episode. Today we're going to talk about the similarities between our hands and our feet. Many times I get this question about, oh, how did you develop your feet technique? Basically what I did and the way I developed all my technique was starting from my hands and then applying the same concept to my feet. Because I found out that there are some similarities between our hands and feet motions, and so I tried to apply the concept, and I found out that they actually work in the same way. So for how the drum technique has been developed, there are way more information about our hands than about our feet technique. Actually, in my opinion, the feet technique it's always been a taboo kind of argument for drummers. I studied all the hands technique and hands concept, and then I found out again there are some similarities that I will show you now, and so that from there we can understand how conceptually we can translate all the study that we did with our hands to our feet, and it will make so much more sense for us and for our practicing, and will really help to figure out how the lower part of our body works. So let's see. First thing that I've noticed was that the German grip was a wrist motion, exactly how the heel up is a ankle motion. So my wrist and my ankle in this situation have the exact same role. I understand that the spring and the rebound also have the same exact role, because the spring is throwing the beater back at me, and the rebound is throwing the stick back. It's pushing the stick back up. Okay, so they're both helping me. Of course, the difference is that I have to hold the stick and I don't have to hold the pedal or the beater with my feet, but conceptually, same motion. Then from there I thought, okay, what about the French grip? Like, I'm never gonna use my toes as I use the fingers of my hand, but I've noticed something else, that my wrist is completely isolated when I play finger motion. Okay, my wrist is not moving. Same thing almost happens with the heel down, where my ankle the motion is very limited. But let's say that the French grip is the only grip that we can't really translate to the feet, because of the different way that we use the fingers on the upper part of our body compared to the lower part. But then I tried with the push-pull, where we have a down motion and then an up motion, and we play a stroke on a down motion and a stroke on an up motion in this way, as most of you already of course know. Same thing happens with the heel toe, where there's a stroke with the heel and a stroke with the toe. And then there's the Moller technique, which is a lateral control of the rebound, which can be compared to the swivel technique, which is a lateral control of the pedal. So conceptually they're both working laterally, and actually if we think of the like a two-stroke lateral molar, is actually what happens. Exactly the same thing. The only thing is that the stick would work in a weird way, and it wouldn't be comfortable playing in this way. Instead, on the lower part, it's a little bit easier. But it's conceptually like the lateral thing, the lateral control of the rebound happens in both parts of our And also like the accent. There's an upstroke, downstroke, and then some taps. The same thing can happen with our feet. So as you can see, there's an upstroke that it's basically done by raising the forearm, and the same thing happens on the leg. The stick points down as my shoe points down, my foot points down, and then there's the downstroke, which is basically the impact. It's exactly the same motion, and then there are taps. Okay, so one accent, 3 taps. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So once I figured this out, that's how I developed my technique. That's how my feet technique. I thought, okay, so German grip, I have to isolate the wrist from the rest of the hand and my arm. Same thing I will do with heel up. I have to be synchronized to this rebound to not feel the weight of the stick. So not to lift the stick, but to follow it back up so that the rebound actually does the job of pushing back the stick back up. Same thing, the pedal. I have to be synchronized to the spring so that I never feel the weight of the pedal. Okay, I don't have to work against the spring, which is a strong force, stronger than the rebound. And so, same thing happens. And from there, yeah, that's where all the swivel motion kind of made sense to me. Where I felt like, okay, so I don't have to press down because I need a lot of rebound in the molar to make all the other stroke happen. And so that's why I didn't press with my foot, which will damage your knee, because we will give a lot of pressure to the knee if we press down and then we do a lateral motion. It's kind of weird. And then I thought the more I speed up, the more the motion goes in the wrist. Okay, the more it's a wrist motion and not an arm motion anymore. And so I thought the same thing happens on the ankle, where it all goes more on the ankle rather than on the leg, which would create other type of pain and physical effort. So I developed the concept and all the motion of my lower part of the body exactly on these concepts. So of course I am thankful that we had a long history of drums before I was even born, and I had a lot of information through the internet, and then I developed this concept to fix whatever I couldn't do. So I didn't have any teacher for bass drum technique when I needed to play very fast. I was very limited, and I thought, okay, how can I work on this? I got this concept, translated to the feet, applied to the different way of how the sticks, we play with the sticks and we play with the pedals, found out the same concept about the rebound and the spring motions. So my body had similarities, how the two parts of the drums had similarities, put everything together, and then practiced, and then in this way I can play same speed between my hands and feet. I have the same feeling. I have almost the same type of control. Of course, we always have to think of how different the two parts of our body are, but the concepts are the same. So hopefully this will help you guys to clear a little bit your issues. If you have any issues with your hands technique, maybe your feet can explain a lot, or the other way around. Maybe your hands can explain a lot to your feet. Just adapt and put together the concepts try and try also literally to simulate the motions to understand exactly how all this works. And yeah, I think this can be very helpful. So hopefully we'll have a good practice, and I'll see you next time.